So this here is a video of the technologies I've used in planning, producing and evaluating my coursework. I'll start off by mentioning the three main technologies that I used in all or most of the stages in my coursework. First off is Apple's iMac. I used this in pretty much every stage of the editing and production process. The iMac has been great in the production of this coursework because it's got tons of useful software to use. It's also fast and for the most part pretty easy to use. Although it can be slightly difficult transferring from mainly using PCs to using Macs, as the layout was slightly different. The second one is the Internet. The Internet has been very useful for obtaining and storing information throughout. It's easy to use and there is tons of sources that come in all different forms. For example, finding music videos is a breeze as you just have to load up YouTube and search. Much easier than watching music channels all day to find the one you're looking for. However, a downside to the school's internet is that there's a very strict firewall and you can't Google everything that you want, even if it's very useful. The third technology that has been used throughout it is Blogger. This is the website that I've been using to blog every single process throughout my coursework. It's a very useful and easy thing to use and very convenient to store everything in one place. The only risk with storing it all on Blogger is that if it goes down you are unable to retrieve your work, which could be an issue. But luckily this hasn't happened. I also used YouTube as a means to upload my videos and a means to post them onto Blogger. The first thing I used the internet for was to find a song that could potentially be used as our song choice. I used YouTube and Google and managed to find two songs that I liked from this. The first was Less Talk More Rock by Freezepop. And second was Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. I used another technology to obtain the last two songs. We were told that we should find songs that are rather unknown, and I realised that a lot of songs by unknown bands are published on a video game called Rock Band through the Rock Band Network, which is a song distribution service that anyone, including small artists, can distribute their songs using. So I gave it a look and managed to find two more songs I liked by unknown artists. The first was Political Bum by Psychostic, and the second was El Monstro by Dance for the Dying. We, however, decided to use a song that another group member submitted, Space Elevator by The Smiling Lives, another rather unknown band. Needless to say, I used Google to find a lot of things. Firstly, I used it to find popular indie bands' websites in order to analyse it. I ended up finding the website of The Strokes. The other things that Google allowed me to do was to find pictures from my mood board as well as my Frankenstein and parts of my logo. I also used it to find pictures from my website and Digipack Practice. Google was the best way for me to find pictures or information. The only flaw of it was the strict firewall, which did become a nuisance on a few occasions. Our first go at using a video camera was when we practiced filming a band. We used several handycams in order to do this. Another time we used the handycam was for the filming of our narrative and half of our performance shots for our music video. Handycams are useful because they're easy and portable. Also, you can play back the footage and delete anything you don't want quickly and with ease. The main downside of the handycams is the video quality, as it can only record in standard definition. This is a shame, but didn't actually affect us much as we found that the quality worked fine for our music video. I practiced performing and editing a lip-syncing video to Bon Jovi's Bad Medicine. I had to use several of the Mac's features for this, including iMovie, Final Cut, and the iMac's built-in camera. The camera's recording and sound capabilities were pretty good, although the picture was flipped, so that would have had to be changed in post-production. This was the first time that I had used Final Cut to edit lip-syncing before, but I found it quite easy for this task as it didn't require a huge amount of skill to sync up the audio with a few video tracks. The only annoying thing about Final Cut for this task was that it required rendering after every change, which took up a lot of time. There were several points when I used Microsoft PowerPoint throughout this coursework. I made a number of presentations, including Richard Dyer's Star Theory, analysing David Bowie, analysing band synergy with Interpol, and analysing the Killer's music video for the song Human. Not only this, but I have also used PowerPoint along with the help of Microsoft Paint for the more creative tasks, such as my mood board, my Frankenstein showing artist representation, and my logo. I did use Logo Maker to try and create a logo, but quickly discovered that it was way too limited and I couldn't produce what I wanted. PowerPoint is useful because it is the quickest and easiest way that I have found to present information. Obviously, I could have used more sophisticated software for the creative tasks such as GIMP or Photoshop. However, I would have had to spend time learning these complicated programs. Despite PowerPoint and Paint being very limited, I was able to get the outcome I wanted and was very happy about it, so it worked fine for me. I have also used Prezi in order to make a presentation about band synergy. Prezi allows you to do more than Microsoft PowerPoint, however it takes much longer. Both programs have their uses, it just depends on what you want to make and what you want it to look like. When coming up with website and logo ideas, I used good old-fashioned pen and paper, which is easy and useful for a plan as you're not limited by software capabilities. And since it's not digital, there's no way of it disappearing if a glitch occurs. There were 2 points when I used SurveyMonkey to create questionnaires. Firstly for audience research, and then lastly for audience feedback. SurveyMonkey is a very useful website as it is easy and free. In order to create the web page, I use a built-in program on the Mac called iWeb. I didn't have too many problems with this program, and it was easy to use, simple to grasp, and pretty flexible, despite some limitations. I managed to replicate my website plan quite well, although my plan was landscape, and this program only allowed for portrait. Still, I managed to overcome this problem pretty easily. I also used Twitter for my web page. I created a pretend Twitter account for our band and tweeted a few things to make my webpage look more authentic. For filming our music video, as well as handycams, we also used the HDV camera, which can record in HD and produce a much better picture. This camera, however, is not portable and requires a tripod to use or a strong person to handle as opposed to the handycams. Also, you can't play back footage or it will be deleted. This is why we use this for the performance, which is more spontaneous as opposed to the narrative, so we wouldn't have to go back and check it every now and again. During filming, we also used cameras and our phones to take photographs to use on the web page and Digipack. I used 3 different video editors throughout this coursework for different tasks: iMovie, Final Cut, and Sony Vegas. I used iMovie to record our focus group and my lip sync as opposed to actually using it for editing on those 2 tasks. However, I did use it to edit one of mine and Ryan's commentaries during our editing. We used iMovie and QuickTime Media Player in order to record the Mac, as well as ourselves explaining how we overcame a problem during editing. iMovie is useful because it's easy, quick, and useful for small tasks, but therein lies the weakness. It's not the most appropriate program for big projects, which I discovered while making my GCSE music video. That is why we used Final Cut in order to produce our music video. Final Cut is industry standard software for making media, and as such is very professional. Final Cut has tons of effects and is a very flexible program. However, being thus, it is much harder to learn and you have to be very dedicated in order to get the desired outcome. Also, Final Cut requires rendering whenever you make the smallest edit. This means it takes much longer to edit and a lot of your editing time will be taken up by watching the rendering progress bar. I also used Sony Vegas for a number of tasks, including analysing Joan Jett's music video for Bad Reputation, editing my second focus group, and to edit this video that you're watching now. Sony Vegas is great because I was already accustomed to how Sony Vegas works, and even if I wasn't, it's much easier to learn than Final Cut for first time users. Also, you only have to render the video once, at the end, so you can preview the video while editing without having to constantly render. However, although it's much more advanced than iMovie, it still does not have the number of effects and can produce the level of polish that Final Cut can, and is limited in that regard. Which is why Final Cut was the best choice for editing the music video, and Sony Vegas was the best choice for editing other tasks. Finally, the main program I used to create my Digipack was a website called PicMonkey. This is a free picture editing software that has tons of effects that you can use. This program was very useful because it was very easy to use and very easy to undo any changes I made, so I could use a lot of trial and error and see what works the best.